This episode of the Digital Desperados Podcast is brought to you by SaferNet VPN, found online at safernet.com.
Welcome to the Digital Desperados Podcast, featuring dark tales from the web. Patrick McMurphy is here today to tell us about our dark tales. I'm Jim Brangenberg, and I'll serve as your story guide. We're also joined by Brad Hawkins from SaferNet VPN. This podcast is brought to you by SaferNet VPN. You know, usually a business or family would need 3 different services for protecting their computers: a VPN, malware, and antivirus protection, as well as internet controls. But SaferNet offers all 3 features in one product. SaferNet truly is an endpoint security presence that can be implemented in minutes anywhere in the world. It can be done on phones, laptops, tablets, and computers at an economical price point that caters to all sizes of businesses and families. SaferNet guarantees a smooth setup and installation process that takes just minutes, and it's easily accessible anywhere in the world. And their control hub helps you monitor your employees or your family members' devices, including activity, time spent online, and threats blocked. Is there any reason you don't get secured now? I can't think of one. We did it here at our organization. You should do it at yours. Check out our affordable protection, safernet.com. Online, that's safernet.com. Now, Patrick McMurphy, which dark tale are you telling us today?
Yeah, I think we're going to start with the best one. And when I say best, probably, I don't mean morally the best, but definitely one of the most notorious. It's a gentleman by the name of Maksim Yakubets. He's gone by the hacker name of Aqua. The media have called him the hacker who stole $100 million, but I take a bit of issue with that because that figure is definitely much, much higher. So Aqua, I'm just going to call him Aqua. It's because I'm going to butcher people's Russian name in this, so you know. He's a genius first and foremost. Most of the hackers we talk about they're either brilliant mathematicians, they're just whiz kids with computers, but he was an extraordinarily talented hacker. These days he's running one of the most sophisticated cybercrime groups to ever exist, called Evil Core. Definitely not an original name by any means, but you'll see this in the hacking world. People kind of have cheesy names like Death Lord and all this. It kind of comes with the territory. Now, he's been primarily involved in banking malware, as is the rest of Evil Core. But Aqua was born in the late 1980s. He was born in Ukraine. And as he grew up, it was, late 1980s. So he grew up into really post-USSR Ukraine. And his family were moving closer to Russia and Moscow. And if you think about it back then, it is a titanic change in your life. They're going from communism to quasi-capitalism. It never really quite worked out there, but it's a titanic change for any country to make. So it is a difficult upbringing. And he really spent a lot of his formative years around Moscow. There's not a lot of information on his family out there. The only person we kind of know of, we do know his father is still alive. There was a couple of years back, a bunch of reporters from, I think it was Channel 4 in the UK. They went to the father's apartment in Moscow. Just a moderate apartment, nothing fancy or special about it. They tried to interview him. He wasn't taking interviews, obviously. He told them that his son wasn't a criminal. Obviously, look, you're living in Russia. You can't really be saying your son's a criminal. You probably
I got to say, obviously he doesn't know this name of his son's company, named as Evil Core. You would think, what made him? Maybe my son has stepped offline a little bit.
Maybe, yeah. Maybe they do like clowns for birthday parties. They just happen to be called Evil Core, you know.
I know. It's a little head in the sand stuff, but yeah.
But so I mean, again, not a lot is known about how he got into computing, but we kind of first see Aqua in the media around 2009. And so 2009, Aqua got involved with this gang called the Jabber Zeus crew. And so Jabber Zeus, with their name, they're using a piece of malware called Zeus, which is a banking virus. Now, Zeus is a real historical virus if you look back on the history of digital virology, because it started it's basically its source code was taken as time went on and other viruses were created from it. But this is around 2009 is the genesis of Zeus. And it can do a lot of...
He didn't create Zeus. Did he?
No, he didn't. It was created by. I was hoping you would ask because I cannot pronounce the creator's surname.
I got it. It's Hamza Ben Della.
I was going to call him Hammy B. I was going to go with Hammy B, but yeah, you can go with that. I'm probably going to wake up tomorrow with Zeus on my computer for saying that, but you know. But yeah, he was just an operator, and you kind of do find this as well. Oftentimes the original virus will be created by some like mathematical savant type character, some real, next level guy, and then it's distributed by various hackers who use different techniques. And so when Aqua and the Jabber Zeus crew were distributing it, they were mostly going by phishing attacks. So, you get a dodgy link in an email, and it could be from a stranger, or it could be from someone pretending to be someone and say, hey, click on this, and bang, it's a drive-by download, you're infected. Now, Zeus had a number of capabilities.
What do you mean by a drive-by download?
So that's kind of it's one of the kind of quickest attack vectors. So you're just opening a link, and without you really knowing it, there's malware being downloaded onto your machine. Because a lot of people make the mistake with phishing. They say, "Oh, I can click a link, but if I just don't enter any account details, I'll be fine." But that's actually not the case. Just the act of clicking the link is enough to get you infected.
That's the door they're opening. So, Patrick, this question is, I'm a simple guy. Why do people do this stuff? I mean, do they have no other time on their hands? Or are they truly doing this as a job? They're doing this because they want to make money, so they're going to do. I mean, you've been studying hackers. You've been studying virus guys for years. Why?
There's a lot of.
They go to school for this.
It's a school, but it's not an official school. I would say more the
you don't get a degree.
The dark web. Yeah, you don't. No, you might get a digital degree, maybe like an NFT type degree or something, but digitally signed. But I think really, Jim, you come across a few different motivations. Some which we'll see in a couple of weeks' time are a lot stranger than others. But I would say the most common is financial gain. It's financial gain. Now, with that, I would say what's a joint motivation with that is that they are either under pressure from their government, or they're actually working for their government to carry out the attacks. Because if you're looking at a guy who's deploying banking malware to, we'll say, a bank in the United States, it's doing two things. He's getting money from it, but it's actually disrupting something in the United States as well. So it's kind of, there's two reasons for an attack like that,
Well, they're making money and they're having a giggle at the same time. All right, you better get back to this guy's story. All right.
Yeah, so Zeus, so as I said, it was distributed by phishing attacks. It had a few capabilities. It could deploy other malware, including ransomware, which is just deadly, one of the worst kinds you can get. It had a key login feature, and now that's where someone is tracking your keystroke. So if you typed in the word hello, they could see you typed HELLO. You can imagine if that's on someone's computer, they're typing in banking details, all that information is going back to the hacker's server. Probably its worst thing was its ability to hijack the browser to create fake login pages. So we'll say you're infected with Zeus. You open your browser and you go onto, we'll say, Chase Bank, and it doesn't matter if you type in the URL, it's in a bookmark or whatever, Zeus notices it. The URL actually might even still seem the same, brings up a page that looks identical to Chase. You enter your login information, and you'll just get an error saying wrong password or something. Whereas in fact, you just gave Aqua your bank account details. So this thing was vicious. It was vicious. And during its time, really, because this was the peak of Zeus, but Zeus made between $70 million and $100 million. And Aqua was definitely the main guy with Zeus. So it was devastating at its time.
So how does Aqua get Zeus if somebody else made it? Do they just share their technology to help everybody out, or are they working together, or what's the strategy?
Hackers, they steal it.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of different strategies. We often talk about SaaS, software as a service, but something that's very popular is MAS, which is malware as a service. So hackers on the dark web. RAS is another word. Ransomware as a service is probably actually the most popular, but they're on the dark web and they rent out licenses to use their to use their malware. So it's gotcha. A business, man. It's these guys aren't clowns. They're businessmen just with different motivations.
Gotcha.
I got it. Okay, I want to hear more of the story. And Patrick, you could pick up here in a second.
Yeah.
But Brad, you're talking about these are people that are stealing virus software from other people or paying licensing to virus software so they can do it. and this is just one virus. And we know there's lots of them. I mean, this is why SaferNet exists.
Honestly, I'm sitting here thinking, man, these guys are on top of it. If we could just help them with a little morality, I'd love to hire them. But they know what they're doing. But the struggle is that they're using it just to steal. They could be amazing at business if they would just run it straight up, and they could enjoy their money right in front of everybody. But yes, that is the reason that SaferNet exists. That is exactly the reason. Is that one of the things that Patrick said was that you just to drive by it, you're not even paying attention, and it gets you. All of a sudden now you have Zeus on your device, and it's wanting to suck up all your passwords or whatever it is that it's trying to get to. And the reason is that most people forget to turn on the cybersecurity devices and the tools that you have on your device. So if you're working for a company, the company puts it in there. They say you have to use this, but you forget to turn it on. You forget to turn on whatever it is that we're working on. But the reality is that with SaferNet, one of the greatest things that I'm proud of our developers of putting out is that we're 24/7 always on. You don't even have to think about it. It's always there protecting to stop those drive-bys.
SaferNet.com. All right. Now, Patrick, you said that the American government finally got they finally think like, hey, this Yakubets, hey, we got to watch out for him.
Yeah. And what really was the catalyst for that was that, Aqua had been targeting a lot of Western Europe and American companies. But what he did was he targeted the Kentucky County Treasury. So at that point, you're actually targeting the government in a sense. And that's when the US got, that really ticked them off. Now, something notable about that attack, and it really just speaks to Aqua as a hacker and his methodology, was that he hides his tracks so well that it took 8 days for the treasurer to notice any money was missing. Now, you might say it was just a bad treasurer, but I'd like to believe that Aqua was pretty significant in what he did there. But that attack alone, that was $500,000. But it was an international incident. And the US appealed to other countries to help them. They did figure out he was Russian. It's unknown how. It could be some calling card. He may have even, he could have left anything there. But he asked the Russians the US asked the Russians to help them track down Aqua, which was one of the last times they asked the Russians for help in something like this. But so what happened was that Aqua, even though this guy is so good at hiding his tracks, he actually used a duplicate email in one of his hacking attempts, and when he had ordered something to his house online, I think at like 12 months previous. And the FSB, the Russian intelligence wing, they caught this, and so they raided the apartment he was living in. He was there living with his first wife and their child, who was a baby at the time. And this raid is the turning point in Aqua's life. The Russians immediately claimed to the US that Aqua's innocent and no further action needs to be taken. Now, if the story ended there, it wouldn't be a very exciting story. In reality, what happened here is that the FSB realized that, okay, we've got a serious hacker on our hands. This guy is really talented. So the FSB either coerced them into working for them or they recruit him. I'd like to believe they recruit him just based on his later life after this. But they tell the US, don't worry about this guy, you'll never hear from him again. And then they take him under his wing, or they take him under their wing, effectively. And his career just explodes past this point.
What does the FSB stand for?
Something in Russian that I cannot pronounce.
Okay.
It's the Federal Security Bureau.
Is it?
I just made that up, but I'm going with it.
You could have said yes there, and I would have bought it. Like, if you want to sell me some magic beans, Jim, I will buy a pack off you.
there are some beans at the end of the rainbow. I heard an Irish guy say that once.
That's a pot of gold, and we're very protective about our pot of gold.
Yeah, I bet you are. All right. So the Russians, obviously, we know the Russians are now in charge of lots of hacking. They clearly found the leader of their hacker division.
Yeah, they found their golden boy. And immediately they started introducing him to the top dogs. They introduced him to Dmitry Peskov, who was and still is Putin's press secretary. So he's immediately going to the top. He gets introduced to an FSB agent by the name Eduard Benderskoya. Now, Benderskoya is believed he could have been a mentor for Aqua in terms of just dealing with, I suppose, Russian political life. Now, these two grow very close. Later on, in fact, Aqua marries Benderskoya's daughter. So he introduced him to the family. These guys are tight. And so Aqua, really under the direction of and with the funding of the FSB, founds Evil Corps. This international cybercrime crew, they're based out of Moscow. Aqua has insane plans for Evil Corps. He wants to take Zeus, remodel it, and make it better. And so they do. They invent something called Dridex, which is built on the bones of Zeus. Zeus, at this point, you don't see a lot of Zeus infections that much anymore because people are figuring it out. There's unlockers for it. This always happens with malware. In the lifespan of malware, it'll get solved by white hat hackers, the cybersecurity experts, and then something new will appear. So Dridex is this new piece of malware. It had much greater obfuscation methods, and it was also distributed by phishing. But here's the thing, right? So
Patrick, you said distributed by phishing.
Yeah.
Can you give a quick explanation of that?
Yeah. So we'll say I'm a hacker. I have a list of business leader emails. I send them all an email with a link saying that, hey, you need to see this quickly. It's about the company's finances. They click on it. And then suddenly, it's a fake login page. Or again, it could be a drive-by download again. But effectively, you're just trying to convince anyone who will read your email that they need to click on this link. There is another type called spear phishing where I deliberately target someone in a company. Like I might look at Brad, CEO of SaferNet, so I get Brad's email specifically. I might write to Brad pretending to be SaferNet's accountant and say, Brad, you need to look at this. You need to look at this for, our finances for the next 12 months, such and such a thing. But it's all just a ploy to get you to click a link to either get your account information or deliver another virus onto your system.
Yeah, I've seen some of those phishing emails, and it's just absolutely amazing how enticing it is to click on them. I got one from my electric company, and I'm like, gosh, I need to do something on my account, and I work in this field, and I click on it, and I get this SaferNet window saying, I don't think you want to do that, and so it stops you right in the middle of it. But it's absolutely amazing how easy it is to click and to get sucked into those phishing emails. But it's just
you
amazing.
guys just solved a problem for me. I've got an 89-year-old mother who, when she sees a link, she thinks that is the prettiest thing in the world. She has to click on that link. I have to do this. We need to put SaferNet on every elderly person's computer.
Absolutely.
To save them from clicking on pretty links, because my father-in-law, who is now with the Lord, he was clicking on every link. I mean, he actually answered the phone when people said, hey, I'm calling from Microsoft. We need to update your antivirus. He would talk to those people. This is fantastic. This is great. But I was thinking, Patrick, that this is like this Yakubets thing, this whole Aqua guy, this is like the next episode of Austin Powers and his evil. This is the next Austin Powers movie. We should actually submit this to Hollywood. Well, once they get off strike. All right. So this Dridex thing.
Yeah. And I do want to add about Dridex as well. So it was delivered mostly by phishing. However, Aqua was concerned that people would get educated about phishing attacks. He did not need to be concerned about that because it's still happening. People get phished every single day. It can happen to anyone. So what he does, he also distributes it through what are called Microsoft Word macros. And now it's called Microsoft Word, but it applies to Excel and just that general suite of products. And what that is, it's the one attack where there is actually zero defense for except education. So what happens, it'll start like a phishing attack. I could be the accountant talking to a CEO and saying, hey, look at this document, this Excel spreadsheet. Do the numbers look correct here? And the person opens it. Now it'll be an attached document, and people will see it and think, oh, it's just Microsoft Word. It's not necessarily a link. Nothing can go wrong. And they click it. And occasionally, if you get kind of corporate level Excel sheets or Word documents, there'll be an option to enable macros that'll pop up. And if you click OK on one of these pop-ups and it's sent by someone like Aqua, immediately Dridex is on your machine, because what happens in the background, the macro that executes is actually a piece of code saying, go to this server, download this and execute it right now. And the person never knows. They might even be looking at a black document and then, go back to the person they think who sent it and said, oh, I didn't send you anything. So the macro attacks are just next level. They're next level.
All right, you better finish up the story before we run out of time.
Yeah, sure. There's not a ton left, but so Aqua, he's really pushing Dridex. Dridex ends up being found in over 40 countries, hundreds of millions of dollars worth of theft. That's why I don't think he stole 100 million. It's a lot more. In fact, if you're in the US now and you get a Dridex infection, you are by law not allowed to engage in transactions with Evil Corps. If they hold your computers to ransom, it's against the law to pay them. It's that serious. The FBI have a $5 million bounty on Aqua's head. So the man definitely cannot leave Russia at all.
Well, it could be that he only made the 100 million because he's having to share the rest with the Russian government. So.
It's a strong possibility. But I mean, if you look at his day-to-day life, so, he did marry this FSB agent's daughter. Their wedding was the best day for Russian cybercrime. It was a who's who of the FBI top most wanted cybercriminals. A lot of FSB agents, politicians. Wedding itself cost over $300,000. So there's definitely money coming from somewhere. Furthermore, he drives a $200,000 Lamborghini around Moscow with the words BOP on the side, which is Russian for thief. So he's very proud of what he does. There's videos of the cops stopping him, and then they realize who it is, and they're just having a laugh with him, and he's doing donuts around Moscow. The guy's above the law in Moscow. He's basically immune because he's now functionally not only just an FSB agent, but the FSB golden boy when it comes to computer hacking.
Wow.
But yeah, he's still at large. Like I said, if he leaves Russia, he probably has about 50 FBI task forces waiting for him, but I think he's pretty happy in his mansion hacking the world. So that's Maksim Yakubets, Aqua.
Wow, that's amazing.
So let me just ask, I'm a simple guy. And so if an email gets sent to me and I don't do anything with it and I just delete it, I'm okay, right?
If you delete it, yeah, but I would do some bit of digital hygiene. A lot of these emails can just be sent out on a blast. You could just be a random target. But if I did get an email, I would still, check my accounts. Check all my accounts. Has there been unusual activity? Am I actually being targeted, or am I just a random target?
So Brad, if I'm getting an email and it's got naughty stuff on it, is SaferNet helping me out there?
Oh, totally. What we're doing is we're locking down that computer so that it doesn't reach out to places that we know that are bad locations. So if you click on a link that we know that is a location that you don't want to go, even if the email page looks like something you've seen 100 times from companies that you work with, if that link takes you to a wrong location, we're going to stop it. And you're going to have to go through a lot of hoops to get to that location. And we've actually had clients that have done that, turn off SaferNet and because they know that they're supposed to go there and have regretted that move. But the reality is that we're trying to silo your work into the locations that we know that are good.
It's amazing. Anybody that's ever had a ransomware attack from our buddies over there in Russia, it's painful because if you don't have a great backup, you're paying a ransom in order to get your computer. You're a host.
It's either that or you're throwing the computer at the window.
It's a bad deal. So Patrick, I love that you brought the story of Aqua and I just the awareness of where did this all come from? It's sad that there are people out there in the world that this is what they're doing, but we now understand more how Russia got to where they are known as the number one hackers in the world because they've got nothing else better to do because they destroyed their economy. So this is one of the ways they get to do it. And we're talking about it. So maybe.
And I mean, a lot of these guys, we haven't heard anything maybe in the last 2 years from them. And that's, I mean, a lot of these guys are now probably employed in their current war in Russia, and they're doing cyber warfare as opposed to actually targeting US corporations for a few years anyway, but they're still out there the whole time, man. It's crazy.
It is crazy, but it's good to know that SaferNet's there to back us up because this is a great thing. Love the fact that you're bringing these stories to us. Can't wait for the next episode. Just remember, you heard it here. The internet and everything digital can have a dark side with many dark players. It's why you need SaferNet by your side. Thanks to SaferNet for supporting our efforts to bring these stories to your ears and giving them the exposure that they need. Please, for your own safety and security of those you love and those you work with, check out safernet.com, safernet.com, and get secured today. Till next time, click only on the attachments you trust from those you trust and delete the rest, or you may become the next victim of a digital desperado.
This episode of the Digital Desperados Podcast is brought to you by SaferNet VPN, found online at safernet.com.
Calling all entrepreneurs and parents. Protecting those we love on the internet is important. Safeguard your ventures and loved ones with SaferNet VPN. Our cybersecurity app keeps you safe on any device. Shield your business from cyber threats while ensuring a family-friendly online environment. Simplify your digital life with SaferNet VPN today. Get secured now. Sign up at safernet.com. That's safernet.com.